Hey everybody, this is Mike, and you're listening to the Reelblack podcast. It's a breaking news edition, and with us on the line we have,
Charles Woods.
and this is 420, April 20th, 2021, and the verdict was just read. Derek Chauvin was found guilty on all three counts of second-degree murder and manslaughter. So, what are your immediate thoughts, Charles?
I'm happy that that this thing was short and sweet in terms of the deliberations. I mean, despite what the defense wanted to do, they wanted to tell the jury to not believe their lying eyes, but as the prosecution said, you have to believe your eyes. I mean, it was right there. This guy Chauvin, what he did for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. He acted with depraved indifference. It was like you can't even say he would have done that to an animal. But the way things have gone for blacks as far as going to trial against police officers who've traditionally gotten away with killing blacks and with impunity. This case, if they didn't come back with a guilty verdict, all hell would have broke out. This would have been worse than what we saw with oh God, Rodney King. I'm just I was just listening to one person. He was unhappy with the fact that because the prosecution knows how difficult it is to get a jury to come back with a guilty charge against the police. They didn't go for murder. This was murder. But as the saying that's become quite popular, it is what it is. He was found guilty on all three counts, and so we have to be happy with that. This is a moment that has to translate into a movement to have policing reimagined. And I'll tell you, the last time I awaited a verdict was in the O.J. Simpson trial, and I was in Manhattan at the time, and TVs were on in the show windows, and when the verdict came down, I tell you, I went running down the street, 42nd Street. I went running down. I was so happy. Now, don't get me wrong. Um, if O.J. was guilty, uh, he should have been found guilty. But he had a trial, and so many people have a trial, and they tell you let the trial speak for itself. And so my thoughts were of how many blacks were killed, and the alleged perpetrators went on trial, and the evidence was stacked against them, and they were not found guilty. So all of this is what caused my jubilation in the O.J. Simpson trial. Emmett Till comes to my mind, where these guys confessed after the trial. But the thing is, this is something that everyone was preparing for what the verdict would be. I was traveling back and forth, Mike, and I noticed a heavy police presence. And I said, "Damn, what's happening?" I know the crime's going up with the conditions seem somewhat improving from the pandemic. But the thing is, I said, "Well, are they putting more police out on the street because the crime's going up?" Because I was in the Bronx, and then it struck me. I said, "Oh no, no, these guys, they're getting ready for what this verdict is going to portend." And so what's going to be exciting now is to see what the post-trial reaction is, how people are going to opine on what took place. But I'm happy with the results.
Right. So, well, two things come to mind. His bail was revoked, so he's in custody. I think he's going to have a tough time in prison. even prior to sentencing, unless he's kept completely isolated.
Well, the whole thing is the state said, we want his bail revoked, and seeing him with his hands behind his back was it was like poetic justice. You know, he's handcuffed. He's on his way to jail. Jail is not going to be a happy place for this son of a gun. But the thing is, that look he had on his face, what thought came to my mind is, where's that look now, UMF? Because I mean, this thing here, thanks to the technology, I believe it was a young girl who captured this on her phone, and then I mean, this footage, if anyone was contrarian to what was captured, any juror was going to try to vote against having a guilty charge be the verdict. That person would have had to leave the country and go into hiding, and so that was one of the things that caused a great deal of apprehension. Even the judge spoke about it with respect to the comments made by Maxine Waters, where I just feel, I understand her pain, I understand where she's coming from, but this is no time to say something that can be deemed incendiary and can be something that the defense will want to use as a reason for making an appeal. The Republicans are jumping all over it, where they had nothing to say against the incendiary comments made by their president for 4 years, and his cohorts, their own colleagues, their fellow members, Mo Brooks for one, this green lady who needs to go somewhere and jump in the lake. But the thing is that these Republicans are looking for something, because let me tell you, the mood right now, I mean, as we speak, as this trial was going on, Mike,
Mm-hmm.
nothing stopped as far as the brutality that blacks are still facing from the police.
Right. That's
I
my
mean,
second point. The,
go ahead. Mm-hmm.
the question of years ago, I asked Baba Dick this, and it became a viral clip. How are you going to reform a cop? This is nothing new. It continues to happen. It's just this in this case, it was recorded, and it was, you know, anyone who saw the tape or witnessed any of that video knew that it was murder, and it was just a matter of time um, before before we got a sense of justice from this, I believe. But why? My question to you, Charles, is why do you think this keeps happening? Is it the result of bad policing, or is it something deeper in terms of the fabric of our society?
Well, the reason why it keeps happening, Mike, is because from a media perspective, the imaging of blacks is that they've constantly been criminalized by the system. So if that's why I make every effort I can to show people the impact of media. Media is something that is the apparatus of the status quo government. It's the way they promote the kind of imagery they want to show that people of color, black people in particular, are people that need to be feared. I'm working on a piece right now. It's called the semionization of blacks. It's how blacks are dehumanized, they're criminalized, so that years ago it was more blatant. You get the newspapers, and I mean, even with get back to OJ. Remember the famous cover of him where they darken the cover. That's the whole thing. A lot of people don't know. When you study history, these things come out in history when they wanted to sort of give a negative image of Jesus Christ. You know, before historically you see the images of Jesus, he had this blonde look to him. But once there was questionings if he was legitimately the Messiah and all this, the images darkened. And what's important is that people know, as I gave an example of what the word means, denigrate. When you denigrate someone, you blacken someone, you're darkening their character. All of the things that are negatively associated with blackness, it's negative. And just one quick point: the biggest source of anti-blackness, you know how people say, well, this is the Bible and so and so. It's the Bible is the main source for anti-black sentiment in the world. Anything in the Bible where black is used, it's in a negative connotation. It's in a negative sense. And, a lot of people do not realize this. But the Bible, that's why, you have a lot of your organizations that are your KKK. What do they burn? They burn crosses, and they use the Bible. The curse of Ham, okay? And Ham, the etymology of Ham means dark, okay? And that's why a lot of blacks want to say, well, we're the original Hamites. But they don't know that using that terminology as it was expressed in the Bible, it took on a negative connotation. So blackness, view of blackness, the way it's been used in the media for years and years and years and continues to be used, is that they want to criminalize blackness. And so when you have these trials, the reason why these cops, even with video evidence, because, you had video evidence with Rodney King, but the whole thing is there's always this predilection to see the policeman doing his duty and that he had no alternative. And one of the things I'm going to get into is, as I said, a lot of people don't know, when they changed the type of gun that these police officers carry, and that was all because they used to they couldn't take down a black person with a regular round, especially during the crack epidemic. They had to get a new type of gun. One of the other reasons why they said they were outgunned by the dope dealers. The dope dealers had better weapons, but one of the reasons why they wanted to get piercing bullets or better, faster shooting guns is because they had a tough time taking down blacks. That's what the cops would say. So and so the thing is, they knew, the prosecution knew, getting back to this case, they knew it would be tough from a historic perspective. They had history against them. They knew, well, we want to go for a murder charge, but look, let's go after what we feel we have a better chance of getting. And so that's what we got in this case, but there are going to be a number of people who are not going to be totally satisfied because they feel this guy should have been tried for murder. What he did, he murdered George Floyd. But let me just close it with this. As I said, this is a moment that should translate into a movement where we get better policing. Every time you see one of these cases, the thing that comes to my mind, and I've had to be in enforcement situations, you learn de-escalation, all right? But these cops, they get secret training outside of the regular training. They get secret training. They pay extra to get training on how to take down guys with hand techniques, choking, and they get that on the side, Mike. And I'll tell you, this is a fact. Because when I had the shop in Manhattan, the 43rd Chamber, I had many of the martial artists who would come in and tell me, yeah, I train a lot of police on how to use different techniques, the hand techniques and all this, because they want to be able to take down the people who they feel need to be taken down. But as far as the de-escalation, you don't see it. They take extra target practice so that when they shoot to kill. So you got the little boy in Chicago. The question is, did he have a gun in his hand? 13 years old. Everything you're going to hear is, why was he out there? Why did he had a gun? Everything's always against the victim.
Yeah, and we see the double standard in terms of how police treat black suspects as opposed to white suspects.
They talk about what happened to the shooter who killed the blacks in church. And what would they say? They took them for hamburgers. They captured them, took them for hamburgers. Okay, it's the difference. It's a difference because the perception is different. They don't see whites, even though they know that these serial killers are traditionally white.
Mass shooters.
Mass killings. The thing is, when they commit a crime, the first thing you hear blacks say, "Oh yeah, we're going to hear what a tough life this person had, or he wasn't mentally balanced and whatnot." But you don't get that. You don't get that same kind of discussion when blacks are involved in these crimes.
The fellow officers that stood by, what should happen to them, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, they should have acted. They were also acting with indifference. Some of them was supposed to be being in training, okay? But the thing is, what are we getting for cops? What's coming to light is that you have a lot of these people who are joining the police force because it's a way to get away with murder. All right? They have the studies. They have. I mean, just look at what happened in the Capitol, the so-called insurrection, right? They already interviewed these people, and most of them are middle class, upper middle class whites. And the term that has come up now is what they call the replacement theory. White folks are scared to death. The gun sales are going up. Why do you think they're so high on the Second Amendment? Because they want the people who are getting paid, these people who form these racist extremist groups, they're making money hand over fist because they know the easiest thing to do is to scapegoat people and to sell people hatred. Okay? And people, they're buying these guns, and I mean, not too long. I mean, you have how many cases where you have someone pulling out a gun and telling black folks, "Get the hell out of here! You don't belong here." And we just had 4 years of a racist president. People don't want to say he was racist, but he was racist. He just. I mean, he wasn't he wasn't someone who created this stuff, but he's someone they saw was getting away with expressing how he really felt, and that his base, they're afraid to talk to the base because this base, I mean, another connotation for the word base is low. You can't get no lower than this. They really are the base. They're in the basement. And let me tell you, blacks, if we want gun control, I mean, look how gun control. There's no gun control. Every damn day people are dying from guns. And these guys don't want to put in any checks and balances on this? No, the reason why is because they don't want to deny these people the opportunity to get guns that can kill, I mean, mass in masses. Because the whole thing is, the point I was going to make is that the people who form these extremist organizations, They're trying to start a civil war. And if they did start a civil war, the blacks would be at a disadvantage because it's tougher for us to get a gun than anyone else. And you saw what happened when the Panthers armed themselves. Reagan changed that whole thing. I'm like Killer Mike. Let's talk about getting guns, and then they'll start thinking twice about the Second Amendment.
So, I mean, what is the solution? I guess is the last question.
But Baba Dick was saying you can't reform a cop when the cop doesn't have to pay for what he does. Number one, he gets away with murder, and then when they one of the things is when there's a settlement, the Floyd family got how much? $25 million. Did it come out of Chauvin's pocket? Hell no. Hell no. So the thing is, if we're talking about reforming the police, the first thing you got to do is make it tougher for them to get away with murder. The same thing that is investigated by the victims of these acts of police brutality. The police need to be under the same concerns. You don't have an opportunity to get your story together. They don't give people that same opportunity. No, there has to be a change. And then the other thing is they have to pay a price. If they're found negligible or whatnot, they have to pay a price. They'll start changing their tune. But if I can get away with murder, you think I'm going to think twice about it? Hell no. That's how you reform the police. And the thing is, you see the Republicans, they have their black go-to front man, Tim Scott. Okay? Listen, you can be black color-wise, but if you ain't black conscious-wise, then get the hell out of Dodge, all right? As I said before, I got T-shirts coming. We first had, who was our first Supreme Court justice, black Supreme Court justice?
Thurgood.
Thurgood, right? And who followed him? No good.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't get you started. I can't wait for the piece, and I would strongly recommend to our viewers to check out American Skin by Nate Parker and Two Identical Strangers, which is on Netflix, starring Joey Badass. Those are two films that have been created in the last year that are reflections of what we've just been talking about. Black-made films with a perspective that will cause you to think. So.
And if possible, Mike,
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about Lil Gianna, George Floyd's daughter. She said, "My daddy said he would change the world." This is a step in the right direction.
Amen.